am not an economist. I know a little bit about geopolitics and a little bit about environmental sustainability and not too much about the global economy, but that's okay because these gentlemen do know quite a lot about the global economy. Let me introduce our panelists. On my left, I have Frederick Eriksson. He is the founding director of the European Center for International Political Economy. He's a published author. One of his books is called The Innovation Illusion. And I understand you're working on a new book about machine technology and kind of where it wants to go and where it's going to take us, whether we like it or not. Is that more or less correct? Next to him is Bill Lee. Bill is the chief economist of the Millikan Institute. He spent a number of years at Citibank and as an economist there. He did his earlier work at the International Monetary Fund and at the Federal Reserve in the United States. He's got his PhD from Columbia. Next to him is Dr. Cao. Dr. Cao is the Vice Chairman and Secretary General of the Shanghai Development Research Foundation. He is also an advisor to the Ministry of Finance in China and truly one of China's best economists. And next to him is Martin Redrado. He is a visiting professor at Florida International University, if I have that correct, Martin. He has been the president of the Central Bank of Argentina. He's worked for the World Trade Organization, for the World Bank. He's also a venture capitalist, and he's a graduate of Harvard. So, with these four gentlemen, I think we can really do a good job of understanding the global economy. And I'll start right away with perhaps, the biggest issue for here, outside the window in the hotel, you can see China across the Yellow Sea. What is happening with the Chinese economy? If I understand it properly, depending upon whether you look at purchasing power parity or dollars, China is the first or the second economy of the world. Something about a housing bubble, something about data not coming from the Chinese government. Dr. Cao, what do you see happening in the Chinese economy in the next in this year and in the years after that, and what impact might have for the world and South Korea? Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for your nice introduction. Actually, it's second time for me to attend the World Knowledge Forum. I feel very good to be back. Yesterday I've been attending many sessions. I feel China seems is a big elephant in the house. Everybody, take care of China. My simple summarize the performance of Chinese economy until now in 2024 is mixed because the government set the target for GDP growth for this year is around 5%. Actually, in first quarter, the GDP growth in China is 5.3%, but the second quarter, only 4.7%. So my feeling is 5% growth rate is achievable, but government should do more. I mean, carry more expansion, physical and monetary policy. As a monitor say, the big issue now is housing or real estate market in China. In past 2 or 3 years, investment or sales in real estate market has been down. The issue is, I guess, the situation in China has been different from that happened in US many years ago. In US, if real estate market come down, it will have a tremendous impact on banking sector because the down payment in US is very low, limited, sometimes even zero down payment. But in China, usually the down payment for mortgage loan very high, even 40%, even 50%, until several months ago, government reduced the down payment to 30%. So that way, not necessarily Chinese are very rich because they accumulate funding from several generations to pay down payment.
But they must be very unhappy if if they've paid the down payments and the houses are worth less money.
Yeah, the issue is because the downside of real estate market have a tremendous impact on local government, because the revenue for local government most from sale of land. Now the sale of land tremendous reduce. Also plus the expense for pandemic several years ago. So that's the, I guess, big issue.
So Bill, if I understand Dr. Cowie saying 5% growth is possible, but the banking sector is okay, but consumer confidence is going to go through the floor.
Yes.
Local, how do you see the Chinese economy, Bill?
I think we in the West often characterize China as suffering from
I think you need to hold the mic a little bit
the
closer.
three daunting Ds, right? You have dismal demographics, daunting debt, and deficient demand. And all of that, I think, is tied up to the property markets. You're absolutely right. But the one thing that I want to emphasize is that everyone says you need to do more fiscal policy. And if you do more fiscal policy, that means you have to spend more, issue more debt. Trouble is, the local governments are so indebted now. Their official debt is about 35% of GDP. Their unofficial debt, the local government financing vehicles, is about 45% of GDP. So there alone, you're almost 100% of GDP. And the Maastricht, right? When they created Maastricht and the euro area, they said keep debt to less than 60% of GDP. So China, even on the local level, not even counting the central government, is so indebted it cannot do the needed fiscal policy to push up demand to get you to 5% growth.
And now, Martin, in Latin America, China has enormous quantities of debt to Latin American countries, and China is very much engaged with Latin America. If China gets a cold, if China has problems, is that going to impact Latin America, or is it kind of safe?
Well, Latin America has two key variables that is very much dependent on. One is interest rates in the US, and the other is commodity prices. In terms of the opportunities that you have, fortunately, we are on the verge of a commodity boom that is not based on what happened at the beginning of the years 2000, which was the industrialization of China. That led to a lot of very strong demand for industrial commodities and agricultural commodities. Now there are three key trends in Latin America that are going in our direction. One is energy transition, the second one is energy security, and the third one is food security around the world. The demand in terms of green energy and the demand for energy transition is going to be so strong in the next decades. This is not a question of just one decade, but clearly when you look at, for example, the lithium triangle down in South America, which is composed by Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, it has a relative advantage, for example, relative to Australia. In Australia, you extract lithium